I'd like to welcome everybody to the operations panel, using technology to create operational efficiencies. Today we have Jim Mooney as our moderator. He is the Vice President of Operations from Freedom Storage Management. We have Phil Murphy, CEO and founder of CallPotential. Tony Johnson, Director of Sales and Operations at selfstorageauctions.com. Jennifer.shaver, Training and Development Manager at Noke Smart Entry, Janus International. And Jim.Ferguson, Client Success Manager at Storable. Jim, I'm going to let you take it away, but be nice to people.
That was directed at Ferguson, right?
It's directed at you. You got to be nice to everybody here. I know how you are.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. So, guys, welcome. The privilege to be on the host this panel. You guys, we got a lot of industry talent and experience here in this room. So we're just going to jump right into it because I got some questions that are already staged here. And then we're going to start with ladies first. We're going to go with Jennifer. One of the questions we're being asked is, how much time in a given week or month do you spend on lock management? And how do you know what's going on in your property every day? And are you using any technology now that that's available for us to do these things?
Sure. So on average, a store manager is going to spend 6 to 10 hours a week on managing locks, whether it's a manned facility or it's an unmanned facility where they're stopping by. That's going to be anything from conducting lock checks to pulling off management locks for vacant units that they've sold, to adding overlocks or removing overlocks. So when they're using technology with smart access, these things are happening automatically. The doors are going to be checking in, doing digital lock checks on themselves 24/7. They're also going to be electronically removing access so you can have on-demand rentals. And they're going to be, automatically changing statuses electronically in your system, taking cues from your management system, the PMS. And then they're going to be checking in and doing, like I said, the lock checks. So that way, when you have a manager who's in the office, because they're getting these lock checks reported to them automatically, they can then plan their day around, I know where to go. I can see my activity. I know which units to go check in on. I know which doors are open. I know which ones aren't. I know who's been here. Or if they're running a hub and spoke type of model, then they know which facilities need attention, where to go, how to plan their day, and how to plan their management. So it allows a lot of operational efficiencies. We can have the technology kind of remove some of the redundancies and allow you to really utilize the staff that you have. And like I said, work in that productivity and efficiency.
All right, cool. Now, Phil, I know you, besides being the founder of CallPotential, you guys actually have next door storage. You have 13 stores?
Yeah, we're at 19 stores now across Illinois. And so, obviously with CallPotential on the CRM side of things, but, really kind of playing both worlds, owner-operator as well as on the technology side.
So I'll throw that question at you as an owner. I mean, I know how I'm doing things in my organization, but how are you doing locks and technology at your property? So, whether you have the new Janus, bells and whistles from Janus, or you're doing more of an old school lock, like maybe Da Vinci lock, or how you guys are managing your properties, because I know you have some unmanned properties as well, right?
So all of our properties, we use traditional locks. We haven't gone down the digital locking aspect yet. We've taken a look at it, but it's one of those things where we're really kind of letting some others kind of dig into that a little bit more and really kind of vet out the process before we jump in with both feet. So.
Okay. Cool. And Jim, from a technology point, being from Storable with SiteLink and storage and easy storage solutions, all these technologies integrate well with your software to really make the manager's job as easier or simplified, that they're not redundantly doing things, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. It's kind of what Jen was saying, is efficiencies, right? How do we focus on efficiencies? How can we save time doing things, and having a truly integrated system start to finish, getting notified of when things happen, or like Jen said, if I'm the manager and I walk in the property, I know what's happening, right? The management softwares will alert me of where I need to be, or the remote properties, or even just which units I need to address. Any kind of inefficiencies or efficiencies, it's a big area of focus for using technology.
Okay. Well, Jim, I'm going to stick with you. And one of the things we're talking about lately, and you and I have talked a lot, and Phil, we've all talked at shows and conferences about technology, and not even just our industry. What technology do we see outside of our realm, of our four walls at a door, that could be coming into the storage market? I know AI is a big thing right now, and a lot of the conference in Vegas was talking about AI. What is there anything else you guys see that could become relevant for us in the next 18, 24, 36 months?
No, that's fair. It's actually technology is a thing that I think Phil and Jim, you and I, we've talked about for years, right? How can we use it the right way? How can operators use it to leverage things, right? And we're focusing on inefficiencies and things. There's some things that came out, right? QR codes, and then they went away, and now they're back again, right? Because people are going, oh, I can actually use this, that way. I think those things will come and go, right? So I think, look at what's happened recently: high occupancy, high rates. What are people using more? How are people finding your properties? Using texting, using just all kinds of emails and basic stuff. But if you look at other technologies, self-storage is usually a little behind, like, any of our Android, Apples, and everything else. But there's some new stuff that can be done, right? There's, gate systems that have codes that are right at your phone. There's some new stuff that's being done that all integrates with, again, property management software that allows access that, hey, Jen's on my property, get an alert, right? Using these integrated systems, I think, is a really big play. Mooney, what are you seeing from your, sorry, I'm asking him, but what are you seeing from your own operators? I mean, are you seeing new things that you're trying to install too?
Actually, I was working with one yesterday that's brand new. It's not in our industry at all. A gentleman came to me, and he develops wallet cards or wallet passes for people. And he was actually at my property yesterday and showing me how this is going to work and all that stuff, and showing me, that there'll be a beacon on the keypad. So when you pull up, it'll actually trigger your wallet pass in your phone, which will show you your unit number, your gate code, if you're paid or not paid. There'll be links on that thing. So there's a lot of technology that way. Using beacon technology, which we looked at a couple of years ago, it kind of went by the wayside. But that's something new that we're looking at right now. It's brand new to the industry.
Yes, we already use that.
Yeah, one of the things I think we're really going to see in storage, especially, we're already starting to see it is around technology for data. We've got so much data that's coming in. We've got all of this AI. There's a lot of these buzzwords that are going out there, but a lot of people aren't really breaking it down. They're not really figuring out what it is. And so we're going to see that kind of being the next phase, I think, of what comes in. You've got people that are going out. We've got all of this voice data, being able to turn that into text and being able to mine that and figure out what are people leading to, being able to rescue leads and things like that are coming in. Going out there and translating that into our marketing side of things and figuring out where are we spending our money correctly. We're going out spending thousands of dollars a month on AdWords. Some people per store are spending $1,000 on a month on AdWords or other aggregators, and they're not being able to go out there and measure it and really kind of translate to what's effective and what's not. And so I think there's going to be a lot of that data that comes in from our financial side, our PMS side, our marketing and our lead side, and really starting to kind of push that out. That's going to drive a lot of cost efficiencies. It's going to also drive a lot better targeting into what it is that we're doing. We're seeing in other industries, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that in storage in the coming years.
You're right. I was just talking to a gentleman who owns a property in Milwaukee, and we were talking about pricing, and I asked him a simple question that we all talk about all the time: how many inquiries you get, how you convert, and all these things. And he goes, I have no idea. Like, well, if you don't have the data to support you, you can't make a good business decision on bad data. So
yeah, and that's the thing. There's all this data coming in, and what we're talking about with the smart entry from Janus. That's great data, but we've got to be able to have the analytics and the engines to sit there and turn it into actionable things. One of the things I heard someone talking about was hey, you can sit there and see the people, how often they're coming in and out of the gates, or how often they're going to their unit, or if they're on auto pay and all these, and driving that into revenue management. Well, there's a lot of other things they could be driving this into, but somebody's got to take and combine that and work that. Otherwise, it's just data.
Right. Well, we're going to jump off because Tony's back on. So I got a couple questions for Tony, and I know he's had some technical difficulties. Tony, during the whole, the nasty COVID environment, we saw a lot more things shifting online. Now we know you guys were already shifting auctions online before COVID. What kind of what kind of spike did you see in traffic coming to your website and more stores posting on auction websites than you saw in 2019?
I think I got most of that, Jim. Well, I tell you, we've seen a big influx of people going online because of the COVID. It's typically difficult to deal with people that never really did anything online. You know, they have that little fear. I don't know, with this COVID, people wanted to jump right in it. You know, we've noticed that we've had way more requests for webinars and, you know, some one-on-one hand-holding, you know, with people that are not really familiar with doing things online, the companies, but the desire to do it now has really skyrocketed.
Right. I mean, I don't know about you, and I mean, I know we're tracking on our own. We're actually seeing a lot more value being paid back to us. We're getting more higher bids, better results online. I can this year alone, I've probably seen at least a dozen, if not more, units go for more than the person owes us. Is that because the demand's not? I mean, with everything being locked up, the auction buyers, the flea market guys and the thrift store guys, they didn't have as much supply out there, so they were paying more for what they were able to see. Do you see that trend leveling out or no?
Well, I kind of agree with you as far as those type of people having excess now with things they didn't with the online, like the thrift shops and so on. You know, there has definitely been an uptick with them joining as bidders on the bidder side. You see a lot of that taking place. But also, you know, out of that whole pandemic thing, you know, people were bored, right? So I was noticing like the bidder registration skyrocketed, right? So everybody's home right now, you know, or they have time, you know. So when people have time, they like to buy things. That's what it kind of seems to me. But I'm not seeing it trending downward. It's staying pretty level, like still increasing.
Cool. Phil, from your owner's hat side, what are you seeing at your properties? I mean, I know you're probably online and doing these things. Are you seeing similar results?
So we've got a bit of a mix. So we've got some properties that are online. We've got some properties that are not, that are in more traditional. And one of the things that we're in the process of is really kind of transitioning all of our properties online, because what we found is those that we were continuing to do a traditional, we're running out of bidders. What's happening is the entire market for resale has kind of changed locally, at least. And so bidders are coming out and they're saying, you know, I could buy this stuff, but I've got nothing to do with it. I have to keep reminding myself that, you know, the point of an auction is to get my spot back so I can rent it, not to make $400. And but it's always one of those things when I sit there and I've got two guys that I know are my $5 bidders that are going to be the ones going back and forth here. Or sometimes if I can't even get to the 3 I'm required to have by state law, that's why you know, we're finding we're having to transition even those stores that were in a traditional manner back over into digital.
Well, plus even for me, and I know where you're out in Illinois and up here in Pennsylvania and whatever. Now we're in the winter. Weather's going to play a big key. I mean, I remember canceling auctions back in the day because it snowed or rained or whatever. We couldn't have an auction online. We don't worry about that anymore, and I think that's another big thing. We're also actually seeing bidders coming farther away. Tony, you would know better than any of us, but they're driving a greater radius to get these units, right?
Absolutely. We generally go out a 200-mile radius from the site, because we discovered over the years that people will drive 200 miles for something they've won, right? They're not doing it because maybe they're going to win, but you know, they've won. And we've noticed that people will invest the time, the gas, you know, the effort to go farther for things.
Phil, you hit the nail on the head. The biggest thing for us as operators is getting our units back that we can rent to somebody who's going to pay their bill. So the faster we can turn them and do those things, we're doing them monthly now. So cool. Thank you, Tony, on that. Back to Mr. Ferguson. We were talking about technology trends and seeing go forward, and it kind of goes back to, you know, Jim and everybody on the panel. Please join in. This not new, but it's the hub and spoke model, the unmanned, unattended, whatever. You know, we call them unattended because we have people there regularly. So they're not unmanned. We have people throughout the property, but we're doing more and more and more unmanned properties, and now we have the stories coming out with their virtual managers, and there's a lot of technology here to be able to run these things more effectively. where do you guys see that going? And Jen, for you at Janus, that's got to be a big thing for your Noke system, that added security, especially on an unmanned facility. So, Jen, you want to jump on that one?
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing it trend both ways. The main thing is that it benefits both the operator and the tenant to be able to know what's going on at all times. The tenants have been asking us for the years, how do I know my stuff's safe? You know, they've wanted to know for a long time, how do I trust what's going on? How do I know my stuff is safe? And for the first time, we're taking the technology that they're seeing in other aspects of their lives, and we finally transitioned that into storage where they can use something that they're familiar with, which is their own device, and allow them to see their activity, allow them to share access, allow them to trust what's going on. And more importantly, as operators, for the first time, we know what's going on without having to have boots on the ground. So whether that's still having a manager on site or whether that's running these hub and spoke properties, we're now finally able to see operations in real time, taking that cloud data and even transitioning into online auctions. That means, you know, putting an overlock process, having it happen automatically. That means when you go into a lien process, you're not running the risk of damaging your door and having to cut a lock and possibly worry about a safety issue with your employee. That means having somebody with the right authority click a button, assign access, assign employee unit, have a digital record of where that transition and care of custody went. And when you have an auction buyer from that online auction, assigned digital access from somebody who's remote with the right authority, assign that access, set your expiration time, and the whole thing's happening digitally in real time, and all this happens in cloud. So you're really leveraging the digital piece to run operations remotely, and even whether that's just, you know, like I said, operations with district managers, or whether that's with your management team as well in hub and spoke. It's finally allowing you to operate in real time with knowing what's going on in my facility as a district manager, as an operator, knowing what's going on without actually physically having to be there. And as a customer, I want to know what's going on with my stuff without having to stand in front of my door and go, yes, it's secured. So, I mean, the whole experience for tenant, for operators, for manager, for owner is really kind of met, like I said, the expectations of what they're experiencing in other aspects of their lives in other industries.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things that, you know, we're talking about kind of the intentional hub and spoke, but one of the things that a lot of operators are really running into right now is this unintended hub and spoke, you know, with COVID and employment and all of these things that are going on, it's becoming harder and harder to staff. I know within my stores, we're getting a lot of people that are leaving with little to no notice. And we're having times when somebody might be sick or somebody's left or various things. And we end up having to adjust hours. We end up having to adjust days. We have stores that we've closed. I was on a panel, you know, about a week and a half ago. And, you know, Alyssa Quill over with Sam was talking about how they had taken 20% of their stores and turned them into unmanned, at least for a portion of time or days. That were out there. And so what we're seeing is a lot of people that are going out there and going, okay, how can I bring that customer experience? How can I bring that interaction that I might have by a store presence? And, you know, whether that's having calls rolling into, whether it's an internal call center or whether it's rolling into other stores or having managers at a close by facility that they can go to, a lot of people are going out there. I know, Jim, you had mentioned Stories or CopperSafe is another one that's out there. There's a number of them that are going out there with these virtual management platforms and going out there and saying, okay, how can I staff this facility without somebody being present, whether permanently or temporarily? And that's something where I see the industry is really heading towards in the coming years. You know, I don't think that's going away, COVID or not.
Phil, I can tell you, we run 23 locations. I have 3 offices. No. I have 8 stores out of 1. And the nice thing, Jim, you were at one the other week visiting me. If I got somebody sick or COVID or vacation, I'm not missing a beat because I have 3 or 4 people in that office.
Yeah.
Now, this was a little quirky that had a whole office that kind of got sick at once on me, so we had to shuffle. But using the technology out there, the rental completion links, the online rentals. We were talking to me today. We literally do not take phone payments in our office anymore. You can either pay online, you can pay over the phone through the call center, or you can pay this way. If you physically want to talk to our manager, we're going to charge you a fee, not because we want the money. We want to retrain you to pay the other way. So I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's going to become more prevalent. Now, you can't take 100,000 square foot property and do it on man. I really don't think you can. I know Bob Copper's had some success with that. I'd love to see how that works, but there are certain sizes and geographic areas where, if you're in the middle of Chicago, you got to have a manager.
Well, even for facilities of our operators who are still running, fully staffed, they're still using technology to find these efficiencies where they're saying, what's the behavior of my staff facility? When are my tenants visiting? When should I adjust my staffing hours? When should I adjust access hours? What are the behaviors of my staff when they're on site that shows where they're finding success, where I'm finding training behaviors? So there's still a way to use technology, whether you're running unmanned or manned facilities, to make better operating decisions for your site and decide, is this time where I should bring in full staff? Do I need a part-time staff? If I'm running hub and spoke, what does that staffing look like? So there's a lot of operational decisions that you should be leveraging your technology and making decisions that's right for your store and your market. Because like you said, Jim, it's going to vary store to store.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that Phil actually mentioned too is just the BI stuff. Like the data exists, right? And now it's making these decisions. So looking where to look for it, how you can leverage it, if it ties to your gate system, your whatever these trends are that kind of Jen and Phil are all talking about. I think really unfolding the data and how you can utilize it with revenue management or access, or, hey, I only really need to open my store between these hours, or I could have it staffed, but I could have it staffed over at this other property where this other person is, using that information. So I think Phil kind of hit the nail on the head with the BI aspect on really kind of giving the data back to you, but also making it easy to understand. I think that's good.
I think Tony hit the nail on the head earlier when he said that we have to have the owners and all embrace this technology, because I was at the Georgia, South Carolina show last week, and I was speaking, and then Tommy was speaking, and we had a guy in the audience who said, 99% of my customers don't have an email address. And we all looked at him like he had three heads. And then it went down, and then it got down to 30%. So this was an owner or a manager that doesn't want to embrace the technology. So we have to make sure from an industry standard that our owners, our operators, our district managers embrace it, show the managers how to do it, because you have to funnel that down to get to the customer. So Phil, if you got stores out there and you got a manager who's so old school, they don't want that, you're going to have a fight there, and then you got to be able to, explain the process through. And I mean, even, with Jim, you and I looked years ago at generational numbers. We're still at Gen X's and millennials. Millennials are still low. Gen X and baby boomers are still, our upper numbers. Yep. And they're using it.
Well, and Jim, that's always one of those things that you said there in terms of, if you got these old school managers that aren't wanting to adapt to technology. If you're, as I talk to many owners, if you're letting the tail wag the dog, at some point you've just got to cut that manager. It's one of those things where as running operations, you've got to come in and go, guys, this is what I need from you. If you're not going to deliver, if you're not going to use the tools I'm providing, you got to go. And it really comes from the top down. We see it too often, especially where we'll sit there and we'll have owners that will come out and say, here, use this technology. And then they don't bother to check in. The manager is really looking up to that ownership and going, hey, how important is this to you? If you're not asking me about it, if you're not checking on it, that which isn't watched isn't done. And so if you're just as an owner going out there and throwing technology at your manager and tell them, figure it out, and then you don't bother to check in on it, it is going to fail. Right. It's got to start at that ownership, work its way down, and make that importance clear across the board.
Tony, I'm sure you even see it on your side of the coin with the online auctions. You got managers, oh no, that won't work. People won't go online to buy the units. We have to do it here. I want to see them. And, the industry as a whole, we're getting better at it. Absolutely. There's a lot of operators out there that are embracing technology, but there's still that, that core group of people that, no, I got, in one of my slides I did last week, that old adage, I won't run online because I got to see the whites of their eyes. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, yes. But now, with technology, we have these things. So, Tony, you see it too, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's the fear factor, first of all, Jim, I think is the biggest one, right? I don't use a computer every day. I hear that a lot, or, I'm old school. I want to write it down, and I understand that and I respect that. But the way society's running, like the example I typically give is, when's the last time you read a newspaper? And the manager's like, I don't need to read a newspaper. I read it on my phone. Exactly.
Exactly.
right? This is where society is. This is where we're moving, and we're going to continue to move that way. So anything that can be done through technology is the way to go.
Right. Jim Ferguson, you and I talked last week. I ran into a guy in Milwaukee that is still on SightLink PC based.
That by itself, yes. And that's the thing. We all fall into this. Or we all meet people who are just happy with what they have. They're happy with the platform they have, the way they've been doing it, and they just have no desire to change. And until they run into something, right? What is that thing that makes each of us do something else, right? If it's learning hotkeys in Excel, if it's learning hotkeys in some other system we all use, I'm still surprised that there are more people in this industry than I actually believe that are just very content with what they have and not looking for growing or adding, or they're happy with 100% occupancy and not actually trying to push rates, or those kinds of things, or using technology to save me 3 hours a day because of XYZ things.
Jen, question for you. How often have you heard this phrase, well, that's the way we've always done it here, and that's what our customers like?
But their competitors are doing it different. Their competitors' customers are taking advantage of it. Their competitors are making more money. And one of the things that I hear often is, well, my customers don't have smartphones, or my customers are going to be nervous about this. And I actually ran the Noke facility for 2 years before joining the Noke team. And the customers who appreciated and surprised me the most were the older generation. For one, they actually do have smartphones. They're on Facebook, they're using it, they love communicating with friends. And when we show them to take the time, download the app and show them how to use it, they're the ones who appreciate the most. They have items of value, they store things, it's a lifetime of their treasures. They have items in there they don't want stolen. They really care about their belongings. The millennials who came in who didn't need our assistance, they could have cared less. They expect to have an app. They know how to use this. They don't want a personal interaction. They expected to be there and weren't wowed by it. It was the generations that we expected to be resistant that were the ones that appreciated the technology the most, because they're the ones who are nervous about a break-in. They're the ones who don't want to remember a gate code. They have movers. They don't want to remember their unit code. They want to have the hands-on assistance. So I was really, really impressed by the fact that the generation that made me the most nervous, the ones that our operators tell us they're the most worried about, were the ones who appreciated the value of it the most. So for all those kind of hesitations, I really look into it, because one of the things that our industry kind of gets challenged and pushed back all the time, managers do this, owners do it, it's managing from your pocket and making decisions for your tenants that don't match the habits of the rest of their life. We've seen this with the pandemic. People are buying groceries online, they're doing pickups, they pick up from the stores. It really does apply to storage as well.
Yeah. So, Phil, question for you. You've all been in this game a long time. What is technology's changed, communication with customers. The last 5 years, where do we've grown a lot in the last 5 years. Where do you think we're going to go the next 5?
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of change. Really just in the past year and a half with COVID, a lot of people were forced into, how do I handle these calls? How do I, keep myself open despite everything? And really what we've seen is it's become easier and easier to handle those calls. One of the things that we have that we come across, especially with a lot of mid and large operators, is how do I keep unimportant calls away from my high value staff, my leasing agents, my store managers, things like that. Like you talked about, routing into a pay by phone system, whether it's routing in to your sales agents at a call center. One of the things, just kind of combining technology and data, like I talked about, we had looked at calls that were coming in to my own stores back when we first launched our internal call center, and found that we were paying $300 a month for an external call center and really not getting the quality that we thought we could get out of our own managers. Right. And so what we ended up doing is looking at our calls, and we found about 90% of our after hours calls were coming in the hour before we opened and the hour after we closed. And what we found was, by just easily shifting some of our stores out and allowing them to answer for each other, that not only cut our expense side, but also let us take ownership of what we consider to be probably the most important thing we do, which is our sales that are coming in. But that's where people originally have been going in the past year. And really we're starting to head more and more into other means of communication. How do I communicate with text and chat and social? And really it's one of those things where when my customer is trying to communicate with me, I need to be able to communicate with them the way they want to be communicated with. Because if I don't, they're going to find somebody who has that ability. And right now that's generally the REITs. So if we're trying to keep up with them, we've got to be able to make sure we're communicating just like any other brand that's out there, storage or not.
Right. So a couple questions have popped up here. One is for Jen. Does the lock technology require connections to the internet, and how does that work on like bigger properties?
So the site does need an internet connection. Your information is transferring over the cloud. So the cloud would talk to a data connection on site. And then on site, that then talks to a mesh connection of your locks. And we'd be happy to talk to you that offline. Anybody wants to talk with that to our team.
Perfect. And the other question was directed to me. The biggest difference in operating an unintended facility that's 30 to 40,000 square feet versus 100,000. Again, I've not done 100,000 square feet. The biggest one I have is one of my hubs. It's 90,000 square feet. So that's where my hub is. My properties run from 18,000 to like 47, 50,000 square feet. The big thing is making sure, as we talked this whole session, technologies. We have not gone the route with Jen as the Noke locks. We've done more of the Da Vinci locks and the seal tags and having locks in units for people and online rentals and QR codes at the gates. Just having an understanding of how often these properties need to be maintained. We have certain properties that we're there more because of the area we're in. We got certain properties that we're there once or twice a week. I got one facility about 30,000 square feet. I got a guy there 15 hours a week because that's all it really needs right now. I don't think you can take you can't take a round peg and put it in a square hole. Every property is going to have their nuances. So you have
I have done properties that size, and I would say it really depends on how much technology you leverage. I mean, there's a trade-off there, and there's a balance, and the more technology you leverage, that's where you find the balance in staff.
Well, and from an operator, I think a lot of those decisions really come down to what's the personality of the business that you're trying to create. A lot of people go out there and they say, well, it's got to be done this way. I've got to have a manager. It's just like 10 years ago, you had to have an apartment. Well, it's all a matter of what is it that you're trying to present as that face. There's a lot of people that can go out there. Is that cost savings you're going to have by having an unmanned facility equal to what you're going to lose in terms of customers that aren't willing to interact with you in that manner? And so both of them we're working on. We've seen success. Look at Jefferson Shreve. I mean, he has one of the largest operators out there, and he doesn't have a single man facility. Everything's centralized in call centers and interactions. He has mobile maintenance staff that goes out there. No one's going to tell me that doesn't work. You've got Red Dot, you've got Stories. Yeah.
See, 10 Federal has a ratio per square foot per person who actually assists. And that's the thing for me that I've actually noticed. And I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit too, is I don't know if people realize what is available, right? So I want to have this mentality of what I want the client experience to be, but also what really is available in technology, and see what else is out there, and then figure out what is right for your market, for your size property. And yes, still have a manager on site for the key hours that you need to, or just a person to come and do XYZ tasks and understanding what those needs are.
I just had a call yesterday with a company, Jim, Frank Serto. Frank's back in the industry, and he's with a company in New York, and his owner was ahead of the game as far as technology-wise before, where he was having phone trees and routing the phones back and forth to each other. And we were talking yesterday about technology and what you can do, and right now, it's really limited with the e-sign documents and the locks and the Janus locks and the online auctions and Phil's CallPotential software that you can run multiple stores out of one office and do all those things. If you embrace the technology, I mean, I don't see any limitations that you can't look at and say, well, what can we do here to fix it? I mean, it works. I mean, you just have to, there's a girl in you don't want to take that motto. Well, that's the way we've always done it.
The only thing you don't want to be is unmanaged. So it's just finding those combinations, like Phil said, of what fits for your market, what fits for you, what are you looking to achieve, what's that experience going to be, and find the management style that works for you and your tenant.
Right. I think one of the things that all of us love about this industry is if Phil and I are competitors, A, that's totally fun. I'm excited about that. But B, we would still share, right? Hey, Phil, you just put this process in. How did you tackle this unmanned concept? How did you deal with Jim, the manager, and how did you offset these things, or how did you look at this? All of us will share, which is fantastic. And that's one of the things that we all love about this industry.
Well, first of all, we were probably fired Ferguson, the manager.
That's fair.
Right. It's we all share and we all learn from each other. And I mean, that's the greatest thing about this industry. We all help each other out. And Chad Lumberg and Stephanie Tharp and I presented years ago in one of the sessions, and we literally, our properties were 100 feet apart. We were on stage together.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
So there's one question here that I'm laughing at is, how are the Packers going to recover no Rodgers this week?
As I wear my Bucks hat. Yeah. So Phil and I, all of us have, I think this is the thing, right? Once you're in the industry, you're in the industry, right? I've been
by the way, Jim, thanks for helping me win that. I bet $10 you wouldn't ask that question.
I had to, so we're gonna,
But so that's the thing, and that's the thing about this industry, I guess, is we've kind of become family, right? Like we know this stuff and we jab each other because it's, if you can't take a joke, take a bus. That's always my life motto. But I think that's something that's really cool about this industry is you meet these people at these trade shows or at these types of events where you can like see who else is asking questions and be like, you know what, I want to ping Mooney and ask these types of questions. How do you find an operator that's kind of doing this? I'm in this situation. What advice can you give us? And all of us would share this type of thing. So yes, I am worried personally about the Packers and because Rodgers isn't going to play, but I'm excited that that we're continuing on this, that we're just sharing ideas.
Well, just talk to your Siobhan son who knows all about the stats. He'll help you out. Amos is incredible. So, guys, we got about 5 minutes left. Anything any of you guys want to cover that we didn't mention? I think we covered a lot of data here, and I thank you all for your time because we're all busy people. Is there any closing comment you guys want?
One thing I'd probably throw out there just from an operator standpoint is you're going to hear a lot of technology people coming out here talking about their technology and why you have to have it. And a lot of times people sit there and go, oh, just one more rental and it pays for itself. But it's one of those things where as an operator, you've got to go out there and decide, like, as I talked about before, what's the personality of your company going to be? What are the core things that you're looking to accomplish with this? Is it to drive revenue? Is it to cut costs? Is it to have more efficiencies in what you're doing? What is it that it's going to go out there? Because of course, always one of those slippery slopes we get down is just piling on more and more things. And you've got to make sure that you're going out there, you're putting something in place, you're owning it and you're driving it to make sure it's right. Because at the end of the day, the best technology in the world, and we see a lot of great results from a lot of the companies that are on here. But if you're not out there making it work, it's not worth the money you're going to end up spending on it. And others are going to get a lot more value out of it. So you just got to make sure you push that home.
All right. Jennifer?
The industries, we've always kind of faced a lot of challenges through the years. We've come so far, especially, leaps and bounds in the last 18 months, I think, which is really great because that's the operators all getting together and really kind of pushing through these challenges. But the fact that everybody's on today and listening to these issues, listening to these questions and gathering more information, I just would say keep researching, doing your due diligence and looking to what's out there, and just keep answering the question of what's the experience my tenants can have, what's the experience I can have as an operator, because there's so many answers to every question. And like I said, just keep looking for what's out there and what's the fit for you.
Mr. Ferguson.
I love what Jen just said. See what's out there and do your research. But I also would say that I don't think people fully understand the capabilities of the systems they already have, right? Sure. Think of Excel, think of any of the Word docs. You have your basics, and then you find that you can do macros, right? Like just simple things that I don't think people fully using the full potential. And I agree with Jen, just research and stay tuned and join these types of webinars through the SBOA and resources with, their state associations, because other technology companies and other services or lien law changes will come into these things. And everybody just wants to share information. So keep tuned.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jim, because I don't know how often we get a call where somebody's like, man, you should really build something like that. And then we're like, well, that's already does that. Yeah. You're already using it. And it's, one of them that we have is this automated call route system, and somebody calls in and you can sit there and tag somebody so that they never hit your sales queue. If they're a delinquent tenant, they automatically go to the pay by phone and they'll never talk to somebody. And it's, well, I'm getting overloaded with these payment calls. hey, you should be using this. Why aren't you using this? And it's too often it never gets figured out.
Tony, anything from you? Closing comments?
I think everybody hit on the head. I mean, with the online auction portion, I've seen there's so many companies out there now, so a person can really shop and find what fits their needs the best. And that's kind of what this whole self-storage is about.
Right,
There's plenty of information to share.
Jess is on the screen. We got to be nice.
Oh, I know. Listen, I've been listening the whole time. You can't fool me there, Mr. Mooney. I heard everything you had to say. I just wanted to hop on and thank each one of you for jumping on today. It's a pleasure having partnerships with all of your companies. You guys all do an amazing job. So thank you for joining us today.